Hi, Lisa.
Hey Valerie,
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thank you. So, thank you for doing this today.
Of course, yeah, happy to do it.
So, we're going to talk a little bit about your experience and what it's like so we can help some other people.
Yeah,
Okay?
totally.
Okay. I have some questions that we're going to go through. So, first one, what do you think your life and your career was like before utilizing the service and before the program?
Yeah, sure. So my life before utilizing VMC career coaching was not great. I felt like I was floating and making rash decisions without providing appropriate sets needed to help me land the next opportunity that would get me over the slump. I was picking jobs that were below my experience, and after joining the company, within a few months, I would get super frustrated and upset that I was doing all the grunt work and not be taken seriously in a higher level position.
Do you think that some of that too was because you're in a tech space and being the only one, having not a lot of females into that in that industry? Do you think some of that played a role?
Oh, totally. I mean, as a female, it's more difficult since I am in the ad tech space that once I joined and I was one of the only females in honestly the department or room or sometimes with the overall company, they I would take on the work and then do all the grunt work and not be taken seriously because there were more males at higher level.
What do you think you were trying to solve with the career coaching program?
Yeah, sure. So I was trying to solve for a couple of things. So one, making sure I was vetting the companies and bosses more effectively to make sure it was the right culture fit. That was a big one for me. Um, there was also that I just make sure it was a step forward in my career and no more lateral moves with just slightly different experience. I mean, at the point in time when I reached out to you directly, I was already at a higher level experience, but I just didn't know it yet. And then I wanted to improve my leadership skills so I could be taken more seriously.
And do you think that helped with that frustration that you talked about before?
It did. It really did. I really saw a very large improvement after a couple of months. I mean, obviously, when I initially reached out to you, I wanted to look for a new position, but then I also did the leadership class and course, and that really helped me as well to not only kind of reshape my thinking, but it actually landed me a higher level job than I feel like if I was just kind of looking for a new job working with you and then getting it, because when I did the leadership course, it really pushed me even further than that it really brought me to a much higher level.
You have grown quite a bit.
Yeah,
Where do you
thank you.
think you started to search?
I want to say it started about 2 years ago, right after I joined my previous company. I was unhappy the way things were being handled, and I just feel like I need to reevaluate things and the type of companies I was going after for my future opportunity. I just kind of realized, I mean, I've been working for multiple startups. Maybe I need to really start to evaluate the culture and really dig deep into looking for the companies without making rash decisions moving forward.
Do you think the size of the companies played a role too?
Yeah, the size of the company plays a role. I mean, I feel like the culture is bigger than the size of the company. I mean, for me, it doesn't really matter what the size is, but if your boss and culture are not there, it doesn't matter what size it is. It's that I mean, the key thing is if you feel that if you're interviewing and the boss you have a connection with and the culture is there and it may be a little bit of a smaller company, you just got to evaluate to make sure that there's still going to be stepping stones in place that you're not doing all of the work, but it's really dependent on culture, which is the main thing. And then if you really want to be in a larger or a smaller company, that's just kind of up to you.
What made the service stand out to you?
Sure. So the service that stood out to me is because Valerie, are an expert in working with women, and especially for me, I'm in a male-dominated field. So mainly my bosses have always been male, so it was extremely difficult for me to explain to my male bosses the struggles that I dealt with as being a woman in my industry, I felt that super frustrating, and that was kind of one of the major causes that I wanted to look for a career coach, but that really specialized in working with women specifically, so I can not only talk about growing my career, but growing my career as a woman, because it's very different from a woman than a man to grow within this industry and field.
What made you the happiest about working together?
Sure. So what has made me the happiest by working with you, Valerie? It caters to my needs almost immediately. You were extremely personable and empathetic towards every situation that I was in. I mean, there was a lot
Oh,
of times
thank you.
where, yeah, there was a lot of times that I would, you know, just want to talk because I didn't even have that outlet in my previous jobs and positions. So there were definitely times I would just need to vent, and you were definitely there to listen and validate my feelings because I feel like in my previous business, not only just my last job, but I was in a lot of different toxic environments, and really needed the validation to really understand that I need to be in a better environment, and you really helped me with that.
I feel like we definitely bonded, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
What specific outcome um, have you achieved, do you think, since working together?
Sure. So honestly, since we've been working together for, I mean, I want to say, what has it been, like 2.5 years now? There were
Something
multiple,
like that, the two
yeah,
programs.
yeah, there were multiple outcomes that were achieved when I was working with you. I was able to land a job at a large company as an associate director, which was a huge milestone for me because honestly, I never thought I would kind of land a job at a larger company again. Like that's how low my confidence was. You also really helped me with my confidence. I mean, there were times where I felt like I wasn't good enough, and you validated that I was good enough and that I really needed to kind of push on my bosses and that I could do it. That I just need to really start to speak up and push forward. And if a boss or a company is not going to give that to me, it's like on to the next. So you really helped me like achieve both things very well.
Do you think this solved some of the initial problem too?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely solved the initial problem of wanting to be a high level and being taken more seriously. I just feel like I really needed to push on the questions when I was in the interview process and then really start to push for like what I really want and not just be complacent and just not be scared to speak up like per se, because prior I would just not really say anything, kind of just take all the work and then just be like, and throw my hands up in the air, be like, it's screw it. I'm gonna find a new job and not really say anything to my bosses prior. So
What do you think exceeded your expectations?
yes, sir. What this program really exceeded my expectations are is that I, it only it like it really helped me with like looking for the new opportunity. You really ensured me on not only that I'm happy, but when I did receive another opportunity, you stuck with me, especially when I transitioned to this role. I mean, since I worked for smaller companies in the past, it was a huge change to begin with, and then COVID happened. So COVID really kind of put another stressor on everything during my ramp up period, it really affected my day to day and my confidence because everyone was stuck at home. I didn't know anybody. It kind of really freaked me out. So you really stuck with me and worked with me closely on how to effectively ramp myself up and remind me that like to be kinder to myself during this time period because when you first want to start a job, you want to crush it and like be all in and obviously during COVID you can't really do that, especially if you first join a job. It's going to take a little bit longer. It's going to take a little bit more time to meet everybody. So you kind of really assured me that I'm doing a good job and just kind of stick with it. And I do feel like after the additional 6 months, you working with me, I felt like a lot more comfortable, and it really helped me with my confidence. And then you sticking with me, I feel like it did help with certain relationships that I had a little bit of like a difficult kind of like a rocky path with. And now I do feel like it's a much better relationships because you worked with me for so long, even after the ramp up period. Um, Honestly and personally, I don't know, and kind of, I don't know if I reached out to another career coach, I'm not sure if I would have received the same level of service. I do not think that like that would have happened. I mean, I actually vetted a couple other career coaches prior, just was reading it. It was very cold and not tailored to me, which is, which I know you do for everybody. So I know you kind of change your communication and styles for everyone. I think that's the big difference between you versus like another career coach.
I think that helps a lot. And I think that now, do you think that that's helped you you're ready to crush it now?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I already feel like I'm in a much better place that I was. I mean, seriously, even 6 months ago. I mean, I feel like I'm really constantly growing. I mean, it's always a process, right? You always feel like you're never at your 100%. I mean, I'm always thinking about like what I can always do better, and I'm very much like oriented person. But if I look at myself 2 years ago, I am in a much better spot than a much better spot, just between my confidence, just the way I speak, even the way that I kind of go about things in my day to day are much different than they were 2 years ago and even a year ago, I want to say.
I see a big difference. I see a big improvement with you. And I love seeing it. I love it. It's amazing. Why do you think
Thank you.
others should invest in the program?
Honestly, I think others should invest in the program because it really helps you get on the right path for your career. Honestly, regardless if you're not looking for a new job, I highly recommend the leadership program because, I mean, especially now that everybody's home and during this lockdown, you are your own boss. Nobody's going to be looking over your shoulder and making sure you're doing the right thing. So it really helps improving your confidence, especially if you're working from home. You can't like poke someone else on the shoulder like, am I doing this right? Like it's a big change for a lot of people to work from home. So regardless if you're not looking for a new job and if it's just more like kind of leadership skills, I do highly recommend that. I mean, after even taking the program, after a couple of months, my previous boss like saw a huge change, and he even commented on it. He's just like, I can see a huge change in you and keep doing what you're doing. He saw a major difference. And honestly, getting that kind of feedback from him was kind of huge because he actually doesn't give out a lot of compliments. So it felt good.
I
And
remember you
then,
telling me that.
yeah. And then, I mean, and then also kind of the career program, looking for a new career, it was also great because after you fixed my LinkedIn and my resume, I got so many responses on LinkedIn specifically. And then also you helping me like with the really hard questions on interviews, because a lot of times you can get screwed up sometimes with the harder questions that can really miss you out on like getting to the next level. I mean, after you help me with all of those, I would usually get to the end of at the end of each round of jobs. I mean, prior to me working with you, that was not always the case. I'm gonna be very transparent with that. So with that help, that really helped me. And I mean, especially if somebody is going through COVID and doesn't, lost their job, I highly recommend the career. And then if you do have a job that you do feel like, you're kind of floating, the leadership program I think is also really great as well, because that could really help you in the long run because you are your own business at the end of the day.
I agree with that, especially now that people are home. Like you said, they have no one around them to give them up feedback all the time, or like you said, to ask them a question, tap them on the shoulder. You have to ping them by Slack or something most of the time, and it's harder. It's different.
Yeah, and then you have to wait for their response. So sometimes you're like, oh, what is it? What is it? What is it? Like you're trying to get something done, and sometimes you don't get that response. You kind of just have to go with your gut.
Yeah,
So
the time delay can kind of freak you out sometimes. You're trying to do something and you don't know if you're getting it done in time, and while you're waiting for the response. Yeah. How do you think this benefited your career trajectory?
It really helped me out a lot in a positive way. I feel that I have more of a purpose, and I feel like I'm moving forward in my career. I mean, obviously, your career path is always building blocks. It's always the stepping stones to get you to where you want to go. I mean, obviously, in this new position, I do see like the building blocks and like just like future, like what I see myself now from like what I think that I could potentially achieve like 10, 15 years from now. Prior to that, that wasn't the case. I wasn't sure if I even really wanted to stay in the field. So it really helped me out a lot, and also really helped me out, like, grew me personally as well.
I remember you talking about switching industries at one point, and I talked you out of it.
Yes, 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 you did.
Given a chance, do you think you'd do it all over again?
100%. I mean, like I said, my attitude was in the complete dumps prior to working with you. I'll never forget when I first spoke to you. You like, I feel like you just needed to like snap me out of it, which you did. And like I said, I was thinking even about leaving the industry. And I'm talking about I have over 10 years experience in the industry now, and I was thinking about leaving it. So it was a big deal for you to get me back on the right path, and it really helped me tremendously. I really again, I can't say this enough. I can't I you really recommend this program. Honestly, I recommend this program to all my friends and family whenever they reach out to me, when they're having issues, because it really does help you and improves your confidence overall. And it really kind of just sets your mindset up. I mean, what you do, what you set it up as like with your goals, and that you can put that towards anything and towards life in general. I mean, even my sister who's older was asking me, like how to set something up, because she actually has a boss now that she really likes, and she wanted to get a raise. And I'm like, well, what are you thinking about? What did she ask you to do? She goes, oh, she asked me to put a portfolio together. I'm like, well, you should have a summary page, and you should have this, and you should have that. I mean, I wouldn't have said that prior to 2 years ago. I wouldn't have been like, okay, good luck. I wouldn't have been able to give her advice. And then now I'm like, okay, well, you need to do this, this, and this, and be a lot more strategic about what do you want to do, where you want to go, what's the point of it, and you have to present in a way. I mean, your boss is there to be your advocate, but you need to help them, and you need to say what you want. You need to give them steps and stepping stones as well. I mean, they're still growing. They're still growing as well as people, and like maturing with you and learning from you. So you have to guide them to what you want to do for your next path. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, again, I would do it all over again, because I had to learn that. I did not know that prior. I just was like, well, why does my boss not know? Like, I used to just get so angry.
Everyone assumes that their boss should know everything, and
Yeah.
they're people too. They don't read minds either.
No, no, they're
And
people
sometimes you
too.
have to bring things to their attention and say things and speak up and ask for things, and it doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt to do that. And I'm glad you do that now.
Yeah, totally. But
And I'm so glad that you're happy.
yeah, I'm
And
much happier. I mean, I'm in a much
I
better
love to
spot.
see you doing well.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, even like now that I look around, I moved into a house. I mean, now I feel a lot more comfortable in my job, that I felt like I needed to, like I can move into a house. I mean, prior to that, I was just like, like I'm not sure. So like my confidence is like went through the roof. And I mean, obviously I'm still growing. I mean, there's always, I mean, I wouldn't say, I would never think that someone is always at like 100%. I mean, someone could be great and someone could be like amazing, and like, but everyone is still growing. So regardless of how you feel you are in your career, you can always be better. You can always learn more, which is always, at the end of the day, that's kind of just on a personal and professional way. You have to like kind of think of it in that way.
Yeah, we weren't meant to be static as people. We weren't meant to be static as professionals. Just weren't meant to be static. Growth is an amazing thing as long as you're accepting and open to it, and you received it very well, and it's helped your career, it's helped your salary, it's helped your life, it's helped your confidence, it's just helped you. I've seen you grow as a person, as a professional, as a female, as a everything. It's incredible.
Yeah, thank you. No, I mean, honestly, I couldn't have done it without you because it was
Thank you.
hard. I mean, because also you have to think about it. I have a lot of my friends and family are not in my industry, and a lot of them are not even in sales. And I'm like in the middle between sales, but not really sales because it's account management, but I have like a sales aspect to it. So, and it's
Yep.
tech, and there's not really a lot of women. I mean, a lot of my friends are nurses. There's so many women in that field. I
Yeah.
have so many teacher friends. So like it was very difficult to talk to anybody about it, and I'm like seeking for advice, and they're all like, well, I don't know, like they don't know.
Because it's very
So
different from them and what they do.
very different.
And sometimes your friends just, they want to help you, they love you, same with your family. But when they do that, they're giving you advice from their heart and not their head. You know what I mean? Like they are telling you what they know because they love you and they want to protect you. But sometimes that type of advice doesn't help you grow and doesn't help you get to the next level.
Hmm.
It just helps you as a person, and they're trying to keep you safe and warm and comfortable. And sometimes that's not the best way to go when it comes to something like this, because you need to challenge yourself and you need to challenge your mindset. Because if you had stayed in the same way that you were, um, well, we're not going to talk about that, but you know what I'm saying. So, yeah, it's sometimes reaching out to friends and family can be a little disastrous too. You have to be careful. Um, although the intent of love is always there.
Hmm. Yeah,
So,
I mean, just to kind of throw it out there, I mean, even prior to the position when I reached out to you, the even previous role, I mean, it was more difficult because I mean, I burnt out. So it took me a really long time to get over that. And I, a lot of people, especially now you're working from home, you're working more, it is even more important to always be like take care of yourself and be more confident in yourself. Because if you don't do that, you're gonna burn out. Regardless if you're working from home, regardless of where you are in your career, I mean, burnout is a very real and very real thing that happens to you. And especially it happens to a lot of females because we decide to take on more work. We feel like we constantly need to go, go, go and never stop for ourselves. So there was a lot of things I was trying to solve for, and I do feel like I solved for all of it. I mean, obviously, again, I'm still growing, but I can't, I highly recommend it, especially now. So,
thank you.
yeah, of course.
Thank you for doing this, and thank you for sitting here and chatting. I loved, I love sitting here chatting with you. You know that, and
Yeah.
I'm sure this will help everyone else too.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, I really hope so. I mean, I can't say it enough. It is very beneficial regardless of what you want to do. So,
Awesome. Thank you so much.
of course.